As we know, COVID-19 has greatly impacted the world, our community, and our family. It has brought a great amount of mortality, uncertainty, and political divide. It has affected aspects of our lives, healthcare, and educational systems. However, there is a trepidatious issue that does not seem to get enough attention. That is the impact of the pandemic on literacy rates across the country. As the pandemic peaked, more and more schools closed and face-to-face education was suspended, and schools began to shift to emergency online teaching. This is an issue concerning students and their ability to read at a proficient level. Check out this article. In the research article produced by McKinsey & Company, exert that students who do not learn to read proficiently by the 3rd grade struggle to read to learn. Thereafter are 4 times less likely to graduate high school. In fact, research shows that students exhibited declines in learning when schools were remote. Many researchers are referring to this literacy issue as learning loss or even COVID slide. Although it is important to note that these findings are not the cause of our educational gap. It merely highlights some of the perplexing disparities that have been amplified by remote learning during the pandemic and further widening the existing learning gap. In the research article by the American School Health Association, researchers found a few common themes when analyzing different studies. They determined that firstly, remote learning showed a decline in English learning. As further highlighted by the Policy Director in Early Literacy for the Foundation for Excellence in Education, Dr. Kimiona Burke says,
"We consistently see this decline, and in some cases it may be 3%, and in other cases it may be 12%, where there has been a decline in reading and reading proficiency."
Students display declines in academic behaviors related to remote learning. When schools only offer remote learning, they reported a decline in academic behavior such as lower attendance, less participation in classroom activities, and completion of schoolwork. As the McKinsey & Company data shows, absenteeism rates have risen, with 2.7 times as many students on a path to being chronically absent from school this year compared with before the pandemic. If historical correlations between chronic absenteeism and high school graduation hold, this could translate into an additional 1.7 million to 3.3 million 8th to 12th graders dropping out of school because of the pandemic. A study shows, in a study that looks into the long-lasting effects of COVID-19 and student learning loss in the United States, could translate into an estimated impact of 110 billion in annual earnings across the entire current K-12 cohort. Of that sum, 98.8 billion would be associated with the loss of learning, and the rest 11.2 billion with the increase in the number of high school dropouts. Another theme that was highlighted in this study is that technology was a major barrier in remote learning. Indeed, barriers to remote learning during the pandemic have highlighted technological access inequities, often referred to as the digital divide. Schools that are less resourced tend to have decreased ability to adequately offer remote learning, and lower income families are less likely to have the technology necessary to participate in virtual instruction. This is further reinforced by Ali Erarslan's study, which emphasized that access to the internet and computers or smartphones was one of the biggest challenges in delivering effective English courses online. While some students are catching up now, others are stagnating. For example, students at a majority black school are now 5 months behind their historical levels, while students at a majority white school are now only 2 months behind when it comes to reading literacy, further widening the pre-pandemic learning gap. The federal government has committed more than 200 billion to the K-12 education during the next 3 years through the ESSER and the GEER funds, with the most of the support going directly to school districts. Despite a large number of funds going towards the summer school program, a small portion of students participated in these programs.
We are talking to our local officials to get the right programs into the schools, and not just into some schools, but all of the schools. We need equity.
High-income students are nearly twice as likely to have participated in several of these recovery programs. In addition, these students who need services most may not be receiving them. High-income students have less unfinished learning on average than low-income students. A more targeted approach may be required to ensure that low-income students and other vulnerable populations are able to access high-quality support and recovery programs. The ASHA suggests strategies to address equity ought to be employed. These approaches might include advocating for improved broadband infrastructure and increased pandemic-related funding for schools to support at-home devices for students when needed. Additionally, offering robust digital education for parents and guardians and teachers would help reduce the digital divide. It is imperative that we advocate for more equitable resources to hit all communities. Furthermore, it is important for school systems to find creative ways to encourage participation in ongoing learning summer programs. Initiatives might include expanding existing summer school programs, working with agencies and other youth programs so that they integrate more academic activities, and enlisting corporations to identify and train volunteer tutors. Thanks for watching.